What is happening to the human mind? Once we stored entire epochs in memory, today many cannot hold attention for longer than 8 seconds. We stopped reading books and switched to short videos. And now we trust artificial intelligence to solve problems that once required deep thinking. Is this degradation or a new stage of evolution? Today we'll explore the remarkable transformation of the human mind and attempt to glimpse into the future. Part 1. Externalization of memory. In ancient Greece, philosopher Socrates never wrote down his thoughts. In the dialogue Phaedrus, recorded by his student Plato, Socrates warns about the dangers of writing. This science of writing will create forgetfulness in the souls of students because they will not use their memories. Trusting in writing, they will recall things from outside by foreign marks, not from within themselves by their own memory. Marshall McLuhan, a prominent media philosopher, in his famous work, Understanding Media, The Extensions of Man, developed this idea into an entire theory. He viewed all technologies as extensions of human capabilities. Any extension of the senses changes the way we think and act, the way we perceive the world. When these relationships change, people change. According to McLuhan, the book became an extension of the eye, the telephone, an extension of the ear, and computers an extension of the central nervous system. But each such extension comes with a price. Neuroscientist Maryanne Wolf studied how reading changes the structure of the brain. In her book, Proust and the Squid, The Story and Science of the Reading Brain, she writes, "We were never born to read. Humans had to invent writing and then teach their brains to decode these symbols. And the brain had to create entirely new connections between structures originally designed for other functions." Wolf discovered that, with the transition to digital reading, we are losing the ability for deep reading, a process that includes analysis, critical thinking, and empathy. We are becoming better at scanning information, but worse at deeply understanding it. Look at the evolution of our interaction with information. Antiquity. Oral transmission of knowledge, complex mnemonic techniques, almost photographic memory in trained individuals. Ancient and medieval times. Writing books, libraries as external repositories of knowledge. 19th to 20th centuries. Mass printing newspapers, radio, television. Exponential growth of available information. Modern era. Internet, smartphones, instant access to virtually infinite volume of data. And here's the result. Studies show that the average attention span in humans has decreased from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds today. A goldfish, for comparison, has 9 seconds. But it's not just about memory. Something similar is happening with other cognitive functions. Part 2. Outsourcing intelligence. Philosophers Andy Clark and David Chalmers proposed a revolutionary concept of the extended mind. In their article of the same name, they argue, cognitive processes are not limited by the boundaries of the skull. When we use tools to solve problems, they become part of our extended cognitive system. The classic example they provide is a notebook used by a patient with Alzheimer's disease. If a person systematically uses a notebook instead of biological memory, this notebook functionally becomes part of their cognitive system. Today, we observe a similar phenomenon on a much larger scale. Calculators, GPS search engines, and now artificial intelligence are taking on more and more thinking functions. We no longer memorize phone numbers and routes, don't calculate even simple examples mentally, don't remember facts that can be easily found. Trust AI to write texts, solve complex problems, and even create art. Nicholas Carr, in his book, The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains, raises an alarm. What we observe in Internet users is the development of impulsive, superficial thinking at the expense of reflective and deep thinking. Neurobiological research confirms the brain physically changes depending on how we use it. When we constantly switch attention between different tasks and sources of information, We train certain neural pathways and weaken others. Stanisław Lem, legendary science fiction writer and philosopher, in his work Summa Technologiae, foresaw this back in the 1960s. Man will create artificial intelligence not because he wants to get a more perfect copy of himself, but because he seeks to shed the burden of his imperfection. But here we face a paradox. By delegating thinking to technology, we risk losing the very ability to think. Part 3. The future of the human mind. So where does this evolution lead? Two fundamentally different paths open before us. Scenario 1. Cognitive degradation. Yuval Noah Harari, historian and futurist, in his book Homo Deus, warns, when algorithms know us better than we know ourselves, authority will shift from humans to algorithms. Technological progress may result in the creation of a massive new class of people, economically useless and without economic value or political power. In this scenario, most people turn into passive consumers of content and services produced by technologies. Critical thinking, deep concentration, and creative abilities atrophy from insufficient use, similar to muscles without physical exercise. We already see signs of this process today. Growing dependence on technology, inability to concentrate for long periods, preference for visual content over textual, tendency toward simplification of language, superficial understanding of complex problems. Ray Bradbury foresaw something similar in the dystopia Fahrenheit 451, where people abandoned books in favor of primitive entertainment, which led to degradation of thinking and suppression of dissent. Scenario 2. Cognitive evolution. But there is an alternative view. Raymond Kurzweil, renowned futurist and director of engineering at Google, writes in his book, The Singularity is Near. We are merging with our technology. The expansion of human intelligence through technological means has been humanity's goal since the creation of the first tools. In this perspective, the externalization of memory and intelligence is liberation. When routine cognitive tasks are performed by technologies, we can focus on higher forms of thinking, creativity and innovation, emotional intelligence and empathy, conceptual and systems thinking, ethical and philosophical questions, exploration of consciousness. Terence McKenna, philosopher and consciousness researcher, believed that technologies are a manifestation of consciousness evolution. The history of humanity is the history of creating increasingly perfect tools for externalizing human imagination. From cave paintings to virtual reality, we continuously create technologies that allow us to express and expand our consciousness. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, French philosopher and paleontologist, in his book The Phenomenon of Man, proposed the concept of the noosphere, a global sphere of human mind that gradually evolves toward unity and higher complexity. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Conclusion: choosing the path. The key to understanding the future of the human mind lies not so much in the technologies themselves, but in how we use them. Douglas Rushkoff, in his book Program or Be Programmed, puts it this way: there are only two types of people, those who program and those who are programmed. The question is whether we will become active creators of the technological future or passive consumers created by it. Perhaps the key is in developing cognitive hygiene, analogous to physical hygiene. Just as we maintain the health of the body through nutrition and exercise, we must maintain the health of the mind. Practice of deep concentration and meditation. Regular periods of disconnection from technology. Reading complex texts requiring intellectual effort. Solving problems without using external tools. Development of critical thinking. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, psychologist who studied the state of flow, the optimal state of consciousness, in which a person is completely immersed in an activity, found that we are happiest when solving problems at the boundary of our abilities. The best moments usually occur when a person's body and mind are stretched to their limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. The history of humanity is the history of overcoming limitations. Perhaps the next stage of evolution is overcoming dependence on our own inventions and finding new freedom. Freedom to create, explore, dream. Technology is just a tool, and the future of the human mind depends on how we use this tool. So what will the human of the future be like? A stupid and helpless appendage of machines? Or a creative being liberated by technologies for higher forms of mental activity? The answer lies not in the technologies themselves, but in our hands. Ultimately, it's a question of awareness and choice. A choice that each of us makes daily. And what choice are you making?